Shifting focus now to more news coming in, where there's a chilling warning on hijab that has now come to the fore. Vigilante groups are rearing their head, especially in the coastal belt of Karnataka, from where these chilling threats are now coming to the fore. The threat is that a close watch is going to be kept on all those with a hijab and burkha. Deepak, Imran and Pranesh, my colleagues, now join us for more on this. Deepak is the one who got us this information, exclusive one at that. Do take our viewers through this chilling threat that has now come to the fore that tries to target women in the coastal belt of the state of Karnataka.
Yes, definitely a sort of extreme vigilantism that's coming to the fore in the coastal belt of Karnataka. We should understand that, for the last few weeks there have been, of course, multiple issues like this that the cops have been, of course, investigating. Especially, they've had cases where, they've formed a special team with several officers who are looking into violence that takes place on social media, and especially threats and calls like this that's being circulated very often. Now, they have stumbled upon this particular, this message that has been put out on social media platforms, where a group called Muslim Defense Force has sent a warning to parents of Muslim girls, saying that if we find your daughters, in malls or any public places, if they're wearing a burqa and we spot them, and if they are behaving inappropriately, if they're saying that they're removing the hijab or the burqa and taking selfies, then we will take our action in our own way, and you better tell them before we actually find them, or our activists find them. It's an outright threat of sorts that's being given. The police are saying that, based on these messages that were circulated, they are, of course, investigating. The commissioner also, in fact, told us that, at several instances they found that such social media messages that have been are in circulation, their origin is from the IP address that they track down is in a different country. So, there are, of course, challenges in cracking down on who they are, but now with certain WhatsApp groups as well, where these messages are being forwarded, the people who forward these messages are being identified and are being questioned. But what's surprising here is that, the kind of vigilantism and that's openly being expressed, where, they are in fact talking about, taking action against any of these, the girls who wear a burqa and take even a selfie. So you can just imagine to what extent, this threat level is going to.
Absolutely. And this is taking an ugly turn, Pranesh, especially in Karnataka. The hijab seems to be a tool of not just subjugation, now outright threats also. We saw how little school girls were made pawns in the politics, where they made them miss their school, made them miss their examination just for the hijab. Now we see a threat coming to the fore that if you do not wear a hijab or a burqa in public, then you will have to face the consequences. Where are we headed?
Poonam, for so long we've had an ecosystem that has been in denial about the slogans which were first chanted in Kashmir. And I just want to remind our viewers, what were those slogans? Those slogans were, they were more than slogans actually. Just to rephrase what I'm saying, they were warnings, ultimatums, that if you don't convert, you will die, you will have to pay with your life. That is the slogan given by the terror groups, by the Islamists in Kashmir. And now that same mindset and the same slogan is being echoed in Karnataka. This is a chilling ultimatum, where you have the Muslim Defense Group, or whatever it is called, posters accessed by Times Now. The group is under scanner of the Karnataka police. This ultimatum is that if you don't wear a hijab, mind the consequences. Now the court, the Karnataka High Court no less, has come out with a ruling on hijab. How dare these people take on the Indian state and the system? Who are these people? This is not Taliban.
Absolutely, and the onus is now on the Karnataka government to track these people down and take the strictest of action against them. National spokesperson of the BJP, Shehzad Poonawalla, with us on this broadcast. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Mr. Poonawalla. How is the state government going to ensure that this is dealt with an iron hand and such kind of threats do not happen again?
Look, nobody is going to be allowed to take the constitution and the law into their hands. And in this country, the constitution, the Samvidhan is above any Sharia law, and therefore that is very clear. But I would like to point out that the Karnataka High Court order had clearly mentioned that there are some unseen hands that are trying to create social unrest. It had also spoken about the role of PFI and CFI. And therefore this hijab ecosystem that was trying to use the hijab issue during the UP elections to stoke Sampradayik Aag across the country. Well, today they must be held to account that when an order has come from the courts of this country, why were they trying to stoke this fire? And we have also seen some terrorist groups jumping into this. And this hijab ecosystem that always puts the Sharia above the Samvidhan, today those people should be asked to answer whether this is the kind of ecosystem they will create which will patronage to such elements. A Congress MLA in Karnataka had said that if you don't wear hijab, you will be raped. It is exactly similar to that statement, that the kind of statement that is being put out by Times Now. So this shows that the hijab ecosystem is the one that is creating the social unrest, and they must be made to answer.
Absolutely, that ecosystem needs to answer, but the hidden hand, like you said, was something that the Karnataka High Court also spoken of. It was first spoken of by the Karnataka government, but ever since that the comments were made both by the politicians there and by the court, we haven't seen much really happen as far as action is concerned against the PFI in the state. Some would say that is also emboldening such kind of people. Shehzad.
No, yes, I remember that there were a couple of leaders of the Congress party, Mr. Mukarram Khan and one Mr. Ahmed Patel, who had made very disparaging statements. Action was taken against them, and they are going to pay the consequences of their statements. And anybody who tries to incite violence, they will be acted upon. It is not like the Rajasthan government that will give a free pass to those who incite in the name of hijab.
Right, Shehzad Poonawalla, thank you so much for speaking with us here on Times Now. This is the big breaking news that we're getting to you here from Karnataka, where a chilling ultimatum, a threat has now been put forth, especially targeting women in the coastal belt of Karnataka. Let's listen into a reaction coming in from the Commissioner of Police of Mangaluru.
Clearly one social media platform which claims itself a protector of Muslim rights. So they are saying that Muslim women who are wearing burqa in public places are not to open it. And if at all somebody is found taking selfies or photographs by taking out the burqa in public places like malls and parks, so they will be attacked. So they have given threat messages to parents in general on different social media. So we have been watchful about it. And definitely the social media, as it is anonymous and identity is very difficult to establish, there are some instances where some phone numbers of foreign origin have been used to create accounts, and some accounts are operated from outside the country also. So we have been watchful. We have about 7 people, 1 officer and 6 of our staff who are looking after this social media monitoring cell. And whenever there is incident, we are going to quickly consolidate available information and take necessary legal action. Clearly one.
Zina Chaugat Ali, a scholar and women's rights activist, now with us on this broadcast. Thank you so much for speaking with us, ma'am. Where are we headed? Are we headed into a Taliban-like situation with these kind of threats coming to the fore? I believe we've lost that line with Zina Chaugat Ali, but my colleague Deepak continues to be with us on this broadcast. Now, Deepak, the Mangaluru police, they're coming out and saying that all sort of monitoring is happening. Have they managed to crack down on anybody yet, or are they just at the stage of monitoring for now?
Well, they've identified this particular group, and you heard the commissioner there clearly saying that in certain cases like this, the problem that they're facing is that some of the phone numbers that are used to create these social media accounts, they are foreign phone numbers. So they're saying that even now the investigation continues. They want to get to the bottom of this because overall any sort of moral policing, vigilantism is something that...
Right. Sorry to interrupt you there. Cleric Yasoob Abbas now joins us on this broadcast. शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए अब्बास जी. आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे ऐसे लोगों को जो धमकियां दे रहे हैं कि हिजाब नहीं पहनोगे पब्लिक प्लेस में तो देख लिया जाएगा आपको?
देखिए, जो लोग इस तरह से की धमकी दे रहे हैं उनको मैं खंडन करता हूं, और इस्लाम में हिजाब जरूरी है, और ये बच्ची के ऊपर तय होता है कि वो हिजाब करती है कि नहीं करती है. इस्लाम मजहब में जबर और जबरदस्ती नाम की कोई चीज नहीं है. ला इकराहा फिद्दीन, दीन में कोई जबर नहीं है, दीन में कोई जबरदस्ती नहीं है. जहां जबरदस्ती है वहां मजहब नहीं है, और जहां मजहब है वहां जबरदस्ती नहीं है। अगर जबरदस्ती मजहब फोर्स कराया जाता है तो तालिबानियत जन्म लेती है। इस्लाम मजहब तो ये कहता है कि तुम अगर से मुसलमान माँ बाप के घर में पैदा हुए हो तो तुम मुसलमान नहीं, तुम अपने अक्ल के दरवाजे खोलो, एक्सेप्ट करो, अगर तुम्हें अच्छा लगे तो तुम इस्लाम में आओ। ह्यूमैनिटी का मजहब है, इंसानियत का मजहब है। और इस तरीके की जो तंजीमें हैं ये
यासूब अब्बास साहब देखिए, शुरू में तो आप अच्छी बात कर रहे हैं, आप कह रहे हैं ये अगर है तो ये तो है सर, ये तो कह रहे हैं, तो क्या ये तालिबानी माइंडसेट नहीं है?
बिल्कुल है तालिबानी माइंडसेट, और मैंने इसीलिए इनको कंडेम किया सबसे पहले। ये तालिबानी माइंडसेट को मैं, जो हिंदुस्तान के अंदर अगर ये राइज हो रहा है तो इसको मैं पूरी तरीके से मरम्मत करता हूँ। इसीलिए मैंने कहा कि इस्लाम में जबर नहीं।
और यासूब अब्बास साहब, मैं आपको याद दिलाना चाहता हूं, इससे पहले सर तन से जुदा हुआ, उससे पहले कुछ और पोस्टर्स हुए। जो हिडन हैंड की बात होती है तो ये तो देखिए हिडन हैंड बिल्कुल साफ हो गया है।
बिल्कुल ठीक है, और बाकायदा सरकार को उसके ऊपर कार्रवाई करना चाहिए। जो भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है इनको बाकायदा बैन करना चाहिए है। और हर बच्ची जानती है, उनके वालिदैन जानते हैं, उसको कहते रहना चाहिए है। और हमारे लिए प्रॉफिट ऑफ इस्लाम की बेटी की सीरत हुज्जत है, हर अहरे गहरे मुल्ला की सीरत हुज्जत नहीं है।
तो ये कौन लोग हैं? जीनत शौकत अली ऑल्सो ज्वाइनिंग अ ब्रॉडकास्ट पूनम। ये कौन लोग हैं जीनत शौकत अली? हु आर दीज पीपल? हाउ आर दे सो एम्बोल्डेंड? हु गिव्स देम सपोर्ट, पेट्रोनेज, व्हाट हैव यू?
I tell you, they have to be completely condemned and banned, you see, from speaking. How can such people come into existence in a secular democracy when the Constitution of India is giving you certain rights? How can they take such rights away? It's highly condemnable, and some action must be taken against them for harassing poor girls. You know, the girls know very well what they have to wear, what they don't have to wear. The parents are the guides. Who are these people to dictate terms? And on what grounds? When Islam is not telling you to do it. So the whole point is that these kind of people who spring up from nowhere and who claim to be, authorities, and who, claim to be these the kind of people who are only half-baked, have to be dealt with extreme strictures. The government has to take some form of action of banning such organizations.
No, while the government, Zinat Shaukat Ali, while the government, you are right, absolutely spot on, while the government is doing everything to identify these people, shouldn't the community also, ma'am, take action? The same set of people who, issue fatwa at the drop of a hat, where is that lobby today? Will they issue fatwa against this MDF, Muslim Defense Force?
Of course, a fatwa has to be issued against them. And I appeal to the community. The community must do it. These things are not fatwas. A fatwa is something when somebody asks you a question and you answer it. Nobody is asking them. And who are they? And what authority do they have to say such things? So the whole thing is that I appeal to the community, yes, that when this question has come up, they should issue a fatwa against such a group. This defense group from wherever it has come up. And who has given them credibility and who has given them authority to speak and conduct themselves the way they do? It is extremely shameful.
Absolutely, and we are seeing, Zinat Shaukat Ali, such instances come to the fore, especially in Karnataka in the last couple of months. First, there were schoolgirls that were used as pawns. They were told not to attend classrooms. To not attend their classes, to not give examination if they weren't allowed to wear the hijab. Now we're seeing an outright threat or an ultimatum that's coming to the fore from this. Do you think the silence from within the community, perhaps from the topmost clerics of the community, is also what emboldens these kind of elements?
Absolutely. You see, this is, what the Taliban are doing in their country, they're trying to implement here. But this is India, and they should not forget that. We are Indians and we are a secular democracy, and we are not going to tolerate such things. So the whole point is that the community must speak. This is my appeal to my community, that please raise your voices against such hooliganism, which is not permissible. Who are they? And such fatwas have, and if, they have to issue an edict that, such things should not be done. I think the community altogether should join hands and condemn such acts and stop harassing women.
Strong action needs to be taken both from the government side and the community as well. Zinat Shaukat Ali, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, Zina Chowkatali, thank you so much for speaking with us here on Times Now. Deepak, my colleague who got us this exclusive, continues to be with us now. And Deepak, it will be interesting to now see how the community in Karnataka actually comes out and speaks about this, because their condemnation is what is going to be crucial to stop such kind of elements, as Zina Chowkatali was also pointing out.
Absolutely. When such messages, of course, are being circulated in groups within the community, there has to be, some sort of a rebuttal that needs to be given, or else, it is almost like giving them a free hand to call themselves as self-proclaimed defenders of Muslims, where you can see them putting out messages, issuing a warning to the parents of these kids who, of course, raise them, as if they don't know, how to raise their children, how to tell them about what kind of the principles in their religion to follow or not. And moreover, they're talking about girls who are probably even above 18, who have the right to wear what they want and move where they want, and it's almost trying to control all their activities. Say that even if you click a selfie, if you move around in a mall, then our activists are going to come for you. That's the kind of message that's being put out. So it's the cops definitely have to look at the origin of this message, how this group is operating, whether at this point in time are they just putting out messages to create this sense of fear on social media, or are there groups actually working on the ground? Because they are talking about particular malls in Mangaluru as well, some prominent malls and prominent places in Mangaluru find a mention in this message. So there could be a group which is even moving around in these areas. So the safety of the girls moving there as well is going to come under the scanner. So several aspects, of course, needs to be looked into while the police investigate this case.
Absolutely, all of those aspects will have to be looked into, and it will also be interesting to see how the politicians react to this, because the hidden hand is something that the state government had spoken of, Deepak, while the hijab in classrooms controversy was brewing there. That was a time when we saw the Congress and the JDS that were not on the same page as the BJP, but this threat that has now come to the fore, hopefully this unites all political parties in Karnataka, because this is not just about what you would call someone's right to practice their religion. This is infringing on their safety and their security in the state.
Absolutely. Now, even for those who said during the entire hijab controversy that the girl should be allowed to wear a hijab or not, now at the end of the day they also came with a disclaimer that at the end of the day it's a choice of a girl and she's the one who's choosing to wear a hijab, and that's where the argument began. Now here, if there is a girl who's along with a few friends, some of them wearing a hijab, some of them not, some of them wearing a burqa, some of them not, if they take a selfie, if they come under attack through any of these groups who are claiming that they are defenders of Muslims, now who's going to take responsibility? And that's where probably politicians should take a stand here, and also the police should take stringent action against any such groups who are circulating these messages or are operating on the ground.
Absolutely. Stay on with me. Let's listen into what the Mangaluru Commissioner of Police had to say about the investigation in this particular case.
One social media platform which claims itself a protector of Muslim rights. So they are saying that Muslim women who are wearing burqa in public places are not to open it, and if at all somebody is found taking selfies or photographs by taking out the burqa in public places like malls and parks, so they will be attacked. So they have given threat messages to parents in general on different social media. So we have been watchful about it, and definitely the social media, as it is anonymous and identity is very difficult to establish. There are some instances where some phone numbers of foreign origin have been used to create accounts, and some accounts are operated from outside the country also. So we have been watchful. We have about 7 people, 1 officer and 6 of our staff who are looking after this social media monitoring cell, and whenever there is incident, we are going to quickly consolidate available information and take necessary legal action.
So the police officials have not been able to identify who these people are. Deepak, now police officials looking at the social media messages, these are messages that are being circulated. The police officials looking at who exactly they are, but this is quite a chilling threat that has been given out.
want to say one important thing, that whenever such social media messages are in circulation, the account that is created is either with the IP address is not in the country, or he says that the phone number that is used is of foreign origin. So that again of course becomes a challenge. But at this point in time they're saying that one officer and 6 other staff are right now continuously monitoring any sort of social media activity which somewhere threatens people, threatens social or communal harmony in the district. So this is something that's consistently being done. That's when they've stumbled upon these details, and this is also something that's being probed continuously. But of course now the police have to really look into this aspect in detail, because if this group is just not limited to social media and is actually operating on the ground, then it's the safety of these girls which is at risk. So that's something that needs to be looked into.
That's right. So, Deepak, is there any information at all on these groups that have come in, the police officials identifying or perhaps in the know of any similar messages being given out before, or their role in, what has happened before?
Well, moral policing and vigilantism is something that's common in so especially the coastal belt. So that's where the cops of course have to take stringent. Deepak, request you to stay on with us. We have Nasir Hussain of the Congress Party with us. How do you respond to these messages that have been put out, threatening of action if women remove burqa?
See, it is unfortunate that in the coastal Karnataka for the past few years we have been seeing this kind of an environment being created. And now there is something called NDF. I don't know which and from where this group has come. WhatsApp messages threatening women that they should wear burqa or not take selfies, etc., and so on and so forth. This is something which is uncalled for. This is something which cannot be tolerated in any civilized and democratic society.
That's right. But Mr. Nasir Hussain, do you view it in, when the hijab controversy broke out, several said that this is a choice and that's the reason why the girl should be allowed to do so. But clearly in several of these cases, as we're seeing here, threats being given out, if they remove hijab, then action would be initiated.
See, I'll tell you something. During hijab, the argument given by us was anybody and everybody has a right to choose what she or he wears or eat, or where they go or not go. They have a choice. Neither they can be imposed. Neither anybody can impose them to wear hijab. Neither anybody can impose not to wear hijab. It is their choice. So these kind of fringe elements, they disturb the communal harmony. They disturb. They try to Talibanize, and this has been happening there. We have seen this on Christmas. We have seen this on New Year's Day. We have seen this on Valentine's Day in the past. People have gone in the pubs and they have beaten up women. People have threatened, girls have been threatened, those who are wearing jeans and skirts. Girls were threatened, those who were going with their boyfriends to films, to malls and to parks. These fringe elements are there from all sections, whether they are Muslims or Hindus or whatever they are. I don't know why this has been there. This has been there for quite some time. I think they have to be dealt with strictly according to the law of the land. This cannot be tolerated. All right,
this Talibani mindset cannot be accepted. Many thanks, Mr. Nasir Hussain, for joining us. We have Shashi Kumar, the Commissioner of the area, also joining us. Mr. Shashi Kumar, if you can tell us the details that the police officials have obtained as of now on these messages that are being circulated.
No, actually, some messages in the name of Muslim Defense Force 24/7 have been circulating in some Insta pages and also on some Facebook platforms. And we have got into some WhatsApp groups also where this information is shared. Okay. Shared just for the information of other members of the group, like something like this is getting circulated. So there they mentioned that it is their duty to protect the Muslim women from any violation of religious practices. They say whoever is found without burqa in public places like malls and other places, so they would be taught a lesson unless their parents teach them how to behave in the public places, and some other issues are there. It is found through some of the media channels. They have shared this information with us, and also some of our fellows have also found this information. We are working over this information. It is very vague and source of information, and who has spread it, everything is unknown. So we are processing the available information and we are working about it.
Okay. So none of these people have been identified, and the group that has been mentioned is are the police officials aware of this group or its activities?
I mean, we have got to know some numbers which have shared this information, and we have to establish the origin of this information. It is like in the social media groups which are with 200-300 people, a lot of information gets randomly shared. In that, this information, Muslim Defense Force 24/7, this organization or this force is doing activity like this. So as a part of information sharing, it is shared in some group.
Okay.
But where is the origin of this information? That is to be ascertained.
Okay, so your message to the people is to not worry about these messages, because the police officials will ensure that there's no moral policing like that. Mr. Shashi Kumar, thank you for joining us on Times Now. We're shifting